got till it's gone. It'd be a paradise and put up a parking lot.
I can't imagine how many people who are not active on social media that don't know. They just don't even know. For years, I kept saying to my husband, "Why can't I keep my whites white? You know, why does our bottom of our
they don't know
our washer look like this? Or, you know, why does my sink always constantly dripping orange? Like, you know, and like I said, I took it the very first time they said something. I was like, you know what? Maybe it is my pipes. Maybe it is my pipes. And when I changed out my pipe,
how many of those people aren't complaining because they don't know?
Yeah, there's over 50,000 people in the city of St. Cloud. There's only 1,700 on our Facebook page, and I share that to other pages. But even at the one page that I share it to that has the most people is 6,000. So we're not even reaching
it's a fraction.
Quarter of the citizens.
Yeah.
So
and they
if
don't
you're
know why it's
having
happening.
water problems or your friends are, you know, please have them call the city, talk to the city, make people aware. You know, because as you're going to see in the next two clips, that's what they're basing whether they fixed the water system or not on is phone calls. So watch this.
That's the
wait, one more thing. And on stcloudwater.com, there's a picture of what they said has already been ice pigged and what they said is completely fixed. So if you see you have a problem with your water and you see that you're in the area they think is completely fixed, you know you're really in trouble.
So check this out.
They have no intentions of doing anything else after that.
Exactly.
These are the last two water updates we've gotten. So check these out.
Notice the dates.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council. I believe I can take my mask off for the presentation.
Yes, you sure can.
Okay. So first we'll start with the water report, and we're not done yet, but most of the resin has been removed from the system and we'll continue to tell the pipes are clean. During October and November, we completed an additional 6.7 miles of flushing, and we're in the evaluation stage, the surveying of customers. This shows our customer calls or contacts, and you can see the trend is still downward, and you'll see spikes are usually when we've done flushing, or if we do get a call, we'll go out there and also look into it, flush that area, make sure you see if that's resin or another issue. And with that, I still encourage anyone that is seeing any discoloration, if you receive contact, please ask them to contact us so that we can put that in, because we're not getting complaints, as you can see, and we want to make sure that we are addressing the entire issue. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Today I'm Marjorie Craig, I'm the Environmental Utilities Director. Instead of a formal presentation this week, because I'm working on a new template, or we're working on a new template, just going to do a verbal. Over the holidays, we're still evaluating the water system. We have gotten down to only, and still we don't want any water color complaints, but one watercolor complaint average per week over the last few months. And that's down from a high of a max of 60 and an average of 19 in 1 week. So we're making progress, but again, if anybody is experiencing watercolor in their water system, please let us know, because we can't fix it unless we know about it. So we're continuing our hydrant flushing. We're also evaluating future ice pigging and line swabbing efforts. So, remember, we have about 27,000 accounts that serve about 70,000 people. So one call a week, we're our goal 0, but we've really made some tremendous strides in resolving that issue.
So, like I want to point out is that last water update we got from the city was on January 14th. We have not heard an update from the city on water for the last 3 city council meetings. And that was, our current utilities director, Marjorie Craig. And Brandy has talked to Marjorie a few times over the phone, Brandy. What were those like? Those conversations?
I mean, I touched on it briefly before. She seems like she wants to work together to get to the bottom of things. Obviously, my relationship with the people in City Hall hasn't been the best, so I'm very weary. And
I think that goes for all of us.
Yeah,
but we're going to give her the benefit of
not many of them like
as we should give her the benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely. I would be happy to sit down and have a roundtable discussion just like this with her. So then maybe we can, if there's any misinformation that we're putting out there.
I mean, that's what I want them to tell me what it is, so we can fix it. We don't want to give misinformation.
What's the game plan from here on out?
Right.
Yeah, and that's.
When somebody comes up there and says they still have a problem, what's the game plan now?
Yeah, and that's all we wanted, really.
Yeah.
I just want clean
readdress it, find out where it's at, what the problem is. So
you know now that the ice pigging obviously didn't work as well as you would have liked it to.
I asked for a backup plan.
What are we doing now?
What's plan B? And saying, oh, we're just going to continue line swabbing. I don't think anybody's really going to be satisfied with that after 5 years.
I want a filter.
Yeah.
I want a filter. That's what I want.
And maybe, is there a way to find out where certain parts of the pipes have a higher concentration that you can maybe just replace those portions? Or, I mean, there's got to be a better way. We can't just continue to live like this
I promise.
and just keep waiting. Because we're all worried about the long-term effects that this is going to have on our health, not just ours, but our children.
I think it's encouraging that she actually reached out to you, and I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that
the initial
something good can come of that.
The initial time she reached out to me was before I did the interview with Megan. I called the water company. I said, look, I'm about to go talk to the news. I would like to get your opinion on what's going on. I would like to get some information because I want to be fair and I don't want to put out any misinformation. I want to know what's going on. And I said, this is what time. I called them in the early afternoon. I said, before 5 o'clock, I need a call back so that I can have this interview. I made them very aware that it was urgent, that it needed to be done that day, and they didn't get back to me until a few days in the next week. So that's why I got my initial call. It wasn't just out of the blue, concerned about what's going on. It's because I put the feelers out and said, hey, I want to hear what you have to say. But she has sent me a couple of text messages the last week, just kind of asking me how I am and if I want to get together, but they've always been at kind of inconvenient times.
Being that y'all were at the forefront of this whole issue, that they could have actually reached out to you and said, look, these are some leaders in our community speaking out for others, and said, hey, we could use them to help spread the information, the right information.
Yes.
If they're so worried about the misinformation, show the people who are most vocal about it.
They know you're vocal, right?
Yeah, why not give us
But that's just
the right
because
stuff.
we have poor leadership.
Yeah,
and that's all that
you
people
just wait until we're not sitting in a meeting with you and tell us that we're giving out misinformation. And
So Chris mentioned something earlier that I actually going to kind of touch back, and I was actually looking for the particular document that I received from someone anonymously, but basically we had talked about, you had hit back on the note that I just said. Back in September, I wrote a big long article on Facebook, and it got shared a lot. And it was about how development's coming in, they're kind of ravaging our things. And what frustrated me was, at the time, I owned a second home in the city of St. Cloud, in a different portion of the city, on the state street grids. And so this is another thing that frustrated me was, and this is exactly what it comes down to about transparency. They knew about the leaching plastic in our water, right? Here we go, cut back to September 12th. It was my brother's birthday, that's why I remember it specifically. And I wrote a thing that said, I was so frustrated that my pregnant sister-in-law came home. My brother and I owned the home together, and they were residing in it. And my sister-in-law is a police officer about an hour away. She was driving home pregnant, and she got home after an hour drive. Anybody would have to use the restroom. And especially when you're pregnant, you go a lot.
Right.
And she came home, and she couldn't use the bathroom because there was feces and water coming up out of all of our drains, as well as my neighbors. I know this because I've spoken to several of the neighbors on the state streets where that was coming from. And I was so angry to think about what that's doing to my unborn nephew at the time. And I was so angry. So I went on and I wrote this long thing saying how there was human feces coming up out of the drains, and how, I've seen many a time when there was high rain in the state streets, we have a lot of flooding, and we have a lot of problems with that in St. Cloud. Another thing, again, with poor infrastructure to go down to talk about. But anyway, regardless, at first we were told, no, there's no poop in the water, right? I mean, let's call it what it is. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. We're not 4-year-olds. So I wrote this big page on Facebook, and it got shared like 80-something times. And several news outlets reached out to me. And I don't want to go on camera because this is not, my whole thing is not to attack the city.
Right.
I just want
Fix.
Honesty and clean water. Not a lot to ask, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, initially it was no, there's no such thing. And the next morning, I believe it was Stephanie Bachara, I gave her a section of the grid to go down where there was heavy flooding and the manhole covers were literally popping up. And she's down there filming, and up pops a manhole and toilet paper goes flooding by.
Wow.
Someone let her film their sinks and all that fun stuff. So anyway, after
they said
my
that it
big
wasn't
fat
true.
mouth came out and told me that it wasn't true, then they came out and they said, well, there's 7 point something gallons of water or poop that leaked into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their solution was to put portable showers at our lakefront during a pandemic.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't want to shower in a public shower on a good day.
Yeah. Let alone during a
All right?
And this is right
On
when
a good
and This
day.
is right when it started, where we didn't know how. I mean, it's still
This was September
it's still
12th.
pandemic. I'm
Right.
just, but at that
Right.
point, we had no idea
Right.
anything
Supposedly
about it.
Florida's numbers were off the charts. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm not a
We're
doctor.
just saying it was a very, very, very scary
But
time.
the thought of you putting out there, first of all, lying and telling me we didn't see it. And of course the media got involved. And it seems like every time we get the
only
media
time-
involved.
That's the only time they admit it.
Right, so that's what frustrates me again. So that I just wanted to kind of touch back on that when Chris said
'Cause
something.
it's a pattern.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. The point is we have to constantly come to you, and then we're liars. It's not true until we can prove it, until it's on camera, until the media gets involved, and then all of a sudden, well, what happened was,
Right.
and that's how it feels.
And wait, another thing, when we were talking about educating us, and like we were the people that did everything, come to find out, all of a sudden they do a tour for other citizens.
Yep.
While we were doing this, we looked and they were giving a tour just to random citizens to show what they were doing. We were like,
Up until last week.
We did the
Last
water
week was the
meeting.
first time I've ever been offered a tour.
wait,
Of the
we
facilities.
did that water meeting at filled City Hall. We did that. You would think, and they even addressed us and said we were the ones at that meeting. You would think after that meeting, and it was after that meeting, that we would be the ones to do a tour to go back to everybody that we brought to that meeting. Here's what we're doing. Here's the plans.
Did they reach out to you after that meeting?
Never.
No,
What a
not once.
smack in the face.
Not
it
once.
was to see, what was it, Osceola News Gazette? It was somewhere public that we saw that they were giving other citizens, not people of any like standing in the city.
But to be
they gave them
fair,
a tour.
they were ice pigging during that time. They were going through a transition of power. Brian Wheeler was coming out. Marjorie was coming in. So there's there's a lot of other stuff that
Why
needs to
would
be touched
other
on
people get
during
the
that
tour?
time too. That's true.
That was my
I remember
point.
seeing that on
We
on
were
the
like,
city's Facebook, and I was just
somebody
like,
else
If
got the
they
tour.
wanted to get the proper information out there, they should have utilized y'all. I mean, that
If they
right there
cared about
would
the
have been
citizens being
my.
misinformed, that would have been the first place
Yeah.
I'd go to.
I mean, St. Cloud Water was already up at that point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They could have reached out and
Why
said,
wouldn't you wanna
hey,
work with
could
us?
you exactly? Well, could you publish this to your website so
Clearly
we
you
can
have
get
a
this
strong
out to
voice.
the people? Right. You know what I
Right.
mean?
The problem is we're experiencing so many issues in the city, and it's due to neglect, and it's total disregard to the citizens and their health, or and the taxpayers their money.
it's
I mean,
insulting.
it's just, yeah.
It is an insult. You're right. It is an insult. And to go back to Marjorie real fast, listen, she's not a politician. We get it. We get it. We totally understand she's inherited this. If anybody is not to blame, it's Marjorie.
Yeah.
And we get it.
So we're giving her the benefit out.
Totally.
We'd like to meet with her. We'd
Absolutely.
like to hear more.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to say though is that the powers that be have now been in office for a second term. I mean, that's a whole different
not
beast. But anyway, for a second term now. So now we're going into our full fourth year, whatever it is, fourth, fifth year, however you want to look at it. You now have time. You now have experience. You now have
No excuses.
far more people, and your budget is coming up.
You
like,
definitely own the problem.
Now
Hands
you
down.
own the problem.
Yeah.
hands down, it's yours now. And by not correcting it, it's all.